G'day viewers, how you doing? We're back here in Railroader today, and I thought, you all know me, I've had a really long game running, more than a year, I think. So, we're going to make a new one, just to show people how to get started in this game, because there's not a lot of material on that. So, why don't we call this the very small beginning railroad? Seems fair enough. VSBR. That'll do. Okay. And we're going to have an East Whittier start. You can't select anything else. And we're going to have this called VSBR. All right, let's go. Now, I do have some mods installed. I'll go through those in a moment. So this isn't exactly what a new player would see unless you put these mods in. East Whittier after the flood. Yes, we'll talk about all those kinds of things in a moment. Now let's just have a look at my rail loader. I do have rather a lot of mods loaded. None of these are actually going to be working at the moment though, apart potentially from some of the stuff around here at Whittier. Let's have a quick look at that because let's just get up in the air actually on the 2cam. Yeah, looks like, yeah, it does look like some of my mods are active here. So we've got a passenger coach, we've got a caboose, and we've got a gondola full of coal, which is for our supplies. We have been given a boxcar full of repair parts so that our little engine shed here can do its gig, because you need to bring your engines in and repair them and keep them in tip-top shape. The other thing you need to do is oil them, and you just hover over the bogies of the drives. I can see this one is properly oiled. And of course, over here, we've got our locomotive that's very, very sad because, you know, it was a flood and well, let's just say it sank and fell over, caught fire and fell over and sank into the swamp. So let's come over here just to start with and get up really close to this thing and re-rail it. So I'm just using Shift R, Shift R, Shift R, Shift R. That looks like she's on the rails now. All right, now her condition, let's have a look at the inspect, is probably not bad actually, 70%. We could actually use this locomotive. But what I think we'll do, because we don't really need two to get going, is we're going to put it into the East Whittier repair track. And that's the first thing that we're going to do. How much coal? And she's got no coal and no water. Okay. Oh, and the tender's off too. Look at that. We better fix that too. So Shift R, Shift R, Shift R. You just put your mouse cursor on it. Shift R, your heart's content. All right, so because that one's got no fuel, no coal, we're going to need to come and get it with number 2. So much easier than it used to be. So let's just click this one, the engine shed. I can see our 2 locomotives. We've got VSBR number 1, which is the one that's a little dead over here, worse for wear. And we've got VSBR number 2 over here. Now, these are both quite weak little locomotives. But we've got something better than what we used to have. So I've just gone to AI waypoint mode, and I'm going to say, come over here, and I'm going to go get this locomotive. So I'm going to put in a waypoint, just clicking the little arrow here, and I'm going to bring my arrow up until it hits the coupler, and then I'm going to click it. And that loco over there will crank itself up and head over here. Now it's got coal and water. It's a happy little locomotive. Now that's going to find its own way here, which is all well and good. And if I press tab, we can see our labels, VSBR 1, VSBR 2, and you might recall I told it to go to the East Whittier repair track. And if you hover over one of these, let me go back into the 2cam to make this a bit more obvious. So there's the 1cam, which is on the ground, and the 2cam, which is in the air. Well, the 1cam, I should say the 1cam is where you are. Now, East Whittier repair track, if you just hover over one of these labels, doesn't happen on the loco, but if you hover over the label, it'll tell you where to put it. So we're going to pop that one in there after the other one gets onto it. Now, you used to have to do all these weird things with road moves and all sorts of stuff, but now you don't. So, first things first, what do we need to do? How much track have we got? So if we have a look at the map, M for map, you can see your railway might not be quite this extensive, because I've got, you'll have Connolly, and you'll have East Whittier interchange, and you'll have up to Ella, all right? But I've got a little bit more trackage around East Whittier because I've got some mods installed. If you want to look at my mods, I have done a video on the mods and how to put them in and that sort of thing, so feel free to have a look at that. Now, we're also going to want to put that gondola of coal over here because we need to be able to fill our locomotives. So we'll do that in a moment as well. And we've got a passenger car because we've got some passenger stations. So we've got Whittier and Ella stations, and that's it at the moment. We've only got 2, so we can have a little shuttle that runs back and forth. So there's more track down here. You can buy this at some point when you're ready to go down to silver. But as you can see, I don't have my usual $1.8 million. I've got 5,000, so I've got to be just a touch careful about what I do. So I'm not going to buy anything much right about now, but let me just show you. So if we click on the company window and we look at locations, we can pick up, milestones, sorry. We could pick up we could start repairing the Ella Bridge, which will take us up to, once you get that done, you get up to Bryson, so it gives you a 3rd station. That's probably a good one to do for a beginner, is to start doing that work. And those cars will turn up here in this interchange and you can take them up. You can buy a diesel fueling stand for here. I'd actually suggest there's not really much point to that because you don't have enough money to buy a diesel. And you can buy the track down to silver, which is $10,000. Now, you could go and grab yourself some loans so that you could buy that track down to silver. Now, I would suggest for your initial railway, run a couple of sessions with just the small one, with East Whittier and Ella, and you can get your contracts going. But we'll talk about contracts in a moment, and that'll get you a flavour about where you want to go with your railway. Now, you do have to run passenger services. It's actually mandatory. If you don't run passenger services, then your reputation will be damaged and you won't get freight contracts. Because naturally, the families of the people that are paying you for the freight contracts in this misogynist old world are the robber barons that own the women and children. All right, so let's tell that locomotive to bring our friend over here into the shed, and that'll be fine there. And if we have a look at, while that's happening, if we have a look at this repair parts and see where this is supposed to go. So VSBR, nothing in there, no loads done in that one. So if we just do an inspect on this one, this will tell us that it needs to go somewhere. So we don't have any automatic bills on this one. We can set those later on. And we don't have a repair destination, but we should have a place where it's meant to be, but we don't seem to because this is just an automatically placed car. But where it should be is unload repair parts, East Whittier repair track. So we'll just pop that on there. And if we hover over that, we're in a good enough spot for that. That's fine. So while those locomotives are moving, let's pop back and look at these other cars. So we've got our VSBR 2000, which is a complimentary car of coal, which is very nice because this is the car's worth about $4,000 and the coal's worth quite a lot more. So in our operations, we'll say unload East Whittier coal loader, and that will set the default and it will be over there. Now, the other thing we can set on this one, we can actually set a loading place. So we can say buy coal by the East Whittier interchange to Carolina. All right. So that's pretty much sitting where it is now. And same with the engine parts one is we could actually set an unload place now, a loading place if we want to. So again, it'd be East Whittier. Now, at some point when you buy the track to silver, you'll get a new interchange yard, and this one here will become dormant. But what I'd do is just hold your horses for a little while. Now, interestingly enough, caboose. You know what? I have no interest in them. So whenever I get one of these, I always do something for it. I always sell it. All right, so that is no longer mine, and that will disappear at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, and we'll get some money for it. And that'll be handy. It'll pick us up a little bit of cash. Now, we've got our little passenger train here for the very small beginning railroad, and it's only going to run between East Whittier Station, or Whittier Station, and just around the corner at Ella, which is fine. But the first thing we want to do is get into our shed because it's time to talk about contracts. So right shift, click on the glad hand, and then click on the coupler. You do right shift, or it's the right hand shift key, and then click on the glad hand so that you can do the cocks on the hose bags at the same time. Now, what am I talking about? Cocks and hose bags. They're strange words, aren't they? Well, this is a cock. Let's get in a bit closer so the game shows us. This is a cock, an angle cock. And what that does is it lets the air brake air through to the back of the train. You have a continuous automatic air brake throughout the entire train. This is a glad hand. And why are they called glad hands? Because they shake hands. So they're just happy little hands, and they're called glad hands. All right, let's tell our locomotive to come here now. And it can pick up this coal because we're going to need to shunt that into that little siding up there. Now, just while the loco's coming out of here, I just want to check something because I want to know how much water there is. So look at that, 4.5 tonnes of coal and almost 3,000 gallons of water. We have no issues whatsoever. It's very important that you keep your locomotives full of coal and water. And I will show you how to do that after we've done some basics. So this is a water column, which you can rotate out over the track. With these little locomotives, that's fine because it misses everything on them. But the bigger locomotives will actually hit those things, so you want to keep them stowed most of the time. And you just click anywhere on the column. That's the coal chute, which you can raise it and lower it. And once we've actually got a gondola over here over the pit, we'll be able to do that. So this is the unloading pit here. You just park a gondola on top of it. That's all you have to do. The rest is automatic. And then you park your locomotive in front of the coal stage to get coal. Okay, over here we have got a whole bunch of skeleton cars and we have an industry. This is a sawmill. This is one of the few industries you get when you start out. I'll show you the other ones shortly. So we've got all these cars, and obviously they dump logs into the water because that's where the water came from. So the logs came from. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which is very cool. Now these two all need to be oiled, and these ones are fine because, it's just the start of the game. So how do we get a contract? So contracts are how you make money in this game so that you can expand and do your thing. Now, you don't have to expand, all right? I've gone everywhere. I've built the whole railroad, and I'm putting in mods to make it even bigger because I'm a nutbag. And to be honest with you, I kind of regret going beyond Alaka. I love the line between Silver and Alaka. It's fun, it's interesting, it's always good. I just realised my head's on top of one of the key things you need to be able to see, which is that little UI down the left there. I'll just move my head. Now, beyond Alaka, my view is the railroad beyond Alaka at this point in time is kind of pointless because there just aren't enough industries. So when I'm using locomotives and on my main save, I think I've got 25 of the buggers. So it's helpful to star the ones that you're using. So if maybe I've got 8 or 10 of them out doing work on the railway at any one time, I've got those stars that are at the top of the list, and all the ones that are either sitting around getting repairs or overhauls that I'm otherwise just not interested in because, maybe I just don't use them, because maybe I don't have a use for them, but I don't want to sell them because I'm a curmudgeon and I'm a hoarder when it comes to locomotives because I just don't give them up. You can buy lots of locomotives. There's tons of them in the game. So let's come up here and he's going to grab our coal. And when he gets on there, let's just have a look at this. Is the angle cock closed at this end? Yes, it is. So just watch our little locomotive come up here. Now, of course, you can drive the locomotives yourself, but I'm not going to show you that in this tutorial. You can drive them just like a real steam loco. Kinda. I am a real engineman. That's why I say kinda. It's good enough. Good enough. They think, oh, it's good enough, mate. But until you get used to it, I would really encourage you to use the mode I'm using called AI Waypoint because it just makes stuff really easy. I use it all the time because once your railway gets big, you really have no choice but to use it unless you get together a bunch of friends and you run the railway together. All right, so let's right shift, click the gland hand, and you saw the ankle cocks open then, I imagine. Or if you didn't, that's okay. And our handbrake's not actually on, which is unusual for something sitting in a yard. Now, why did I jump on that end of it? It's simple enough. It's because it needs to sit up here. So we're going to propel it in here. Now, we'll stay in a waypoint and we'll just set just here. So it's centered over the pit. And it'll figure all that out by itself. It'll do the switches and it'll do whatever it needs to do to get here. Now, I will point out there's 2 issues with AI waypoint mode. One is deliberate. It can't handle meets. which is when two trains arrive and get on the same track and go, hello, hello, I want to go that way, I want to go that way. Well, they can't because they're on one track. So you need to organise your meets. So if, for example, you had a train at Ella and another one here, oh, what a surprise, you've got two locomotives, and you wanted to pass them somewhere, then a good place to pass them is, of course, Whittier. And, of course, there's some other passing loops that you can have a look at in the map shortly. But you need to manage that. So you send one to one track and the other one to the other track, and when they get there, you send them on to wherever they're going. Or you can send them straight through and just take your chances and see what happens, because sometimes it actually works. Now, the other downside of a waypoint mode is sometimes it can get a little bit confused. So if you've got a fairly complex track layout and you've got cars all over the place, sometimes it handles it beautifully, and at other times it just goes, yeah, nah, I don't know how to do that, or it does something dumb. So just while this is shunting, I'm going to give you an example of something dumb, okay? We've got a passenger car and a caboose, and I might tell it to come and couple onto this passenger car. Now, some of the dumb could be up to me. If I told it to go onto this end of the passenger car, it's quite naturally it's going to try and go through the caboose, but it can't, can it? But if I tell it to couple to this end of the passenger car, I have seen occasions where it'll run up and go and get on the other end. And of course it won't be able to because there's a caboose there. The other thing that can happen, just looking at this, so because I've got a mod installed and the game didn't know that when it started probably, it's put this car almost on top of a set of points and it's foul. So if my loco tried to go down this track, it would actually hit this car. And I have to say it's not very good at dealing with fouls. So you just need to keep those things in mind. Here we go. We're going to get our first delivery here. All right, so we will pop on a handbrake. Now, the other way to pop on a handbrake is you can right-click the car and you can use the little pop-up menu. So you've got release handbrake. Well, it would be apply if it was released, and bleed. Bleed just lets the air out of the car and lets it roll, basically. So if we just pop out of that menu, I don't want to do that, and we will right-hand shift, click on those, and let go of the couplers. As the handbrake's on, it's not going to go anywhere. All right, so we could do our first passenger run, but what might be cooler is to get our first contracts. So we can have a few. They won't start till tomorrow. Actually, the logging one will start now, I think. So if we click on the company window, and if we go to locations, you can see Connolly Creek. We can have logs from here. There's a road with 24 cars a day. There's pulpwood for 10 cars a day. Pulpwood's for a different industry. You won't need that until you get down to silver. There's logs at 36 cars a day. Now, L1 and L2 I've got mods on, so they produce more. Normally they would only produce 10 at this point in the game. And I've also got P3 and P4, which will produce more as well. So if we look at our available things, East Whittier engine service. Excuse me, coughing. It's a long COVID thing. It's a boring story. It can repair things. And right now it's repairing VSBR number 1 and VSBR number 1 tender, which we put in there. And they are at 70 and 71% respectively. The locomotive is going to take almost 13 hours to do, so midday tomorrow we'll have that back. What time is it now? 9 in the morning. Yeah, about midday tomorrow. Why? No, tonight. 10 o'clock tonight we'll have that back. And 452 for the tender, and that's fine. And we've got that. This is the car that's sitting there with the repair parts in it. It's not going to do that. Now there's East Whittier interchange. It's scheduled for 6 a.m. We can schedule a special one if we want to for 11:50. I won't do that until I've set up some contracts because that'll happen now. And remember, so you could buy stuff. So you can buy some coal, $150 per car, and you need to own a car to put it in. Most of the freight comes in cars. You don't need to worry about owning them, but there's some you need to own. You can buy diesel. So it's you need an 8,000-gallon diesel fuel car, but you don't need that because you haven't got any diesels yet. And you can buy repair parts, $3,000 for a 50-ton repair parts car. Now, needless to say, fixing that locomotive is going to probably come close to emptying that car, so we need to make some money. Now, around here, there are some places that we can do stuff. So let's start with Whittier Sawmill because that's the building right in front of us. And if you want to see what the locations are, you can just hover over them. So there's the R1 track over there, which is for logs. C2 for delivering of, or picking up of sawdust, I believe. SOS 1 and 2 is for delivering things and taking away furniture and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. So let us grab a contract. And we can only have tier 1 at the moment because we haven't proved ourselves. Now let's flick through the other things here. If we go to Holyfield Heating Oil, and let's go there. So let's just click on that and click the little arrow and it'll take us there. And this is the Holyfield Heating Oil Depot. We can have a contract here. We can pick up tier 1, so we might as well. And Stenzel Manufacturing, so that's behind us. So we'll just click on that. It's over here. And we can hover over it and see where its tracks are. We can pick up a contract for this one as well. Might seem strange to pick up all these contracts, but that's fine. Now, some stuff will come to Whittier House Track by itself. You don't need to do anything for that. And there's Whittier Sawmill. We've picked up our contracts. Ella Farm Supply. Let's go there. Pop out there on the map. So we've got R1, which is Ella Farm Supply. And let's grab a contract for tier 1 for there. And we've also got over here. We can't have another contract for this one yet. That's okay. So there's Ella House Track, which is there. Once you get more tiers, you'll actually get more opportunities here. This funny little thing down here is our passenger station. Just a cute little thing for Ella. All right, so let's go back to, well, actually, let's go look at Connolly Creeks. Pop out here. So this is one of the places where you can get logs. This is the closest one. So if I open up the map and press this button, it'll take us to where we are. So that's the closest one. So whenever you're looking to get supplies, always go to the closest one that you can that can supply what you want. Now, we had 8 cars, and L1, which is this track, can supply 24 cars. So it'll be fine to get that fulfilled here. So let's go back to Whittier Sawmill again, and let's pop over there. So we've got some cars here, and we've asked for a contract for Whittier Sawmill. So if we go back into our locations page again, we can see what our contract actually means. So let's grab that, Whittier Sawmill, and we've got a tier 1 contract. It's for that one. It should tell us that we're going to do log cars and stuff, but it'll happen tomorrow. So it'll tell us what that is. But there's nothing stopping us from doing these log cars now, is there? And you may as well. And there's plenty of water and coal in that locomotive, so we'll just send her up here. Where is she? So we've just dumped off the coal. We did unhook that, didn't we? Yeah, we did. And she's got tons of water and coal, so we don't have to worry about that at the moment. We will soon, though, because she uses up pretty quick. Now, these are only little baby locomotives. They actually can't do very much. So what do you do if you want more locomotives? Well, you buy them, of course. And look at the price for the cheapest one, $6,300. And I think this one is a C16, the one we've got. So let's just have a quick look at that. Yeah, it's a G16, actually. Yeah, so it's a G16 Mogul. This is one we've got. Pretty babyish. Can't do much. Can't do much at all. So it's tractive effort, 16,000 pounds. Can't pull much. And there's the 10-wheeler. That's the other one we've got. It's a little bit better. It's got a little bit of a more of a tractive effort. So it's important to get that one going pretty quickly because you can use that one for your principal freight engine while you get going, and you can use this little bugger for your passenger cars while you're doing that. Now, there's a whole lot of others you can buy. They're well and truly out of your means. Now, don't fall down the path of taking a crippling loan that you have to pay back because you pay for the loans. They're not free. They're a bit like real life. So I would heavily caution against getting any kind of loan at this time. Now, what we're going to do with these ones is we will couple onto these and we'll get it pumping up the train, and then I'll show you how to drive. We can drive this one manually. We'll use the UI rather than the in-train controls. So we'll just hook those up, left shift again. It always pays to have a look because, sorry, right shift. It doesn't always work, the right shift. I haven't got a handbrake on there. And if we get a little display down there, we can see that the brakes are off. So if I put the brakes on, so let's just go into manual mode and I'll show you some stuff. If I put the train brake on to fully applied, you can see it's gone all red and it's dumped the train brake pipe down to 0. And if I put the train brake back to release again, it's pumping the train up and you can see that little line of dots has gone white. Now, if I release the independent brake, you'll see the loco does the same thing. Now, what would happen if, for example, we were to brake the train here? So we'll do that, and I'll apply the train brake. You notice that first car, the brakes came on, but nothing else did. So if I now hook this back up again, the brakes will come on in the rest of the train. So if you do that without using the right-hand shift key, you'll dump all the air. It's like an emergency separation. And it actually happens in the game sometimes, and you might even derail if you're going too quick. So let's just dump the air. And you didn't see much of a change there because we already had the air dumped. So let's hook it up. Actually, I'll do another demo. I'll release the train brakes, and you'll see that first car is now released, but the rest can't because they're not hooked up. So I'll hook them up, and we will release the rest of the train like that. And if I pop the glad hand now, you'll see that the brakes apply in the back end of the train, and you can hear our locomotive. It'll be trying to pump that up valiantly. You can see it's trying to, but it can't because there's no continuous pipe. So let's put those back together, and we'll see it'll gradually pump back up again because it's lost all its air. And we'll be heading off to what we need to do. So let's have a look at these beasties. Now, where are these going to go? So we go inspect. Now, that's actually up to us because we need to supply stuff for our contract. It'll actually tell you what to do tomorrow, but I happen to know, so we can do it. So unload. There's none at the moment because we don't have a contract in force yet because your contracts start at midnight. So if we go load logs at Connolly Creek L1, so that's where we can pick up logs from, and we'll copy that to all the other cars. So this is important. Copy the auto waybills. So whenever they're being empty, they'll automatically be set for Connolly Creek, and whenever they're full, they'll automatically be set after we get a contract to come back here. So we can't do that at the moment though. All right, so let's get this thing out of here. So let's go into reverse. So forwards is always from the chimney forwards. This is the chimney, or the smokestack, or the funnel, whatever you want to call it in your breed of railways. And we'll release our independent brake and put a little bit of throttle on. You can open the cylinder cocks if you want to be more realistic. Back we go. Always just gentle, gentle, gentle on the throttle. And we can press tab and get rid of those labels because they are a bit distracting. We know where the train's going. As your train starts going, you can bring your reverser down. If you leave it in -100, you'll pick up speed pretty quick. But you will also use a lot of water and a lot of coal. And you want to minimize that. So when you're working at the full distance on the reverser, you are using just raw boiler pressure. The closer you come back to mid-gear or 0, and about 35 is where you want to be to maintain speed, you'll use much less because you're using the expansion of steam. I'm not going to go into the principles of how steam engines work at this point in your career because right now you just don't need to know. Just accept that that's more efficient and will work better, and it's what you should do. So we can cut off now. We'll just roll a little bit, and we'll keep going until the back of the train clears these points here, or switch, depending on your what language of railways you use. Some use switch, some use points. They are the same thing. So we can apply the train brake now. No need to go particularly hard on with that. And we'll throw this switch. You can also do it in the map. So you can open up the map and you can actually zoom right in. Zoom, zoom, zoom. And you see these little arrows? You can actually change. So that's this one here. So you can change them by clicking on the little arrow on the map too. You don't have to do it the hard way. Now, for the rest of this trip, let's do some of those. So we're going to go ahead here. We're going to take the left-hand branch up around the corner up there. We'll see that in a moment. And we want to send the corresponding set of points around here at the other end of the Y. And we're going to come all the way down to Connolly. So we're actually going to drive this thing down here. We might drive it most of the way. We might let the AI take it. We've only got one loco going, so there's really no penalty in not driving it. So we may as well. So let's stick with the locomotive. So we're going to click on it and right-click it, and we're going to say, well, it is selected. So we're going to click the eyeball, and that'll keep us visible on the loco. We'll follow it as long as we don't press any navigation buttons. So let's go into full forward. We'll take the train brake off, put a little bit of independent on because we might roll, put a little bit of throttle on and release the independent, and we should start pushing forwards. You can see she's starting to do that now. Give her a bit more now that she's moving. And once she builds up a little bit of speed, the top speed on the branch that we're going to go to is 25 mile an hour. I will show you that in a moment, and I'll show you how to tell. And after we've delivered these, we'll come back and we'll take on some water and coal, and we'll do our first passenger run. So now that we're moving, we can start bringing our reverser back a bit. So we'll just bring it back to 60 for now because it's still good for acceleration. And we can increase our throttle a bit. Now, of course, you don't have to do this. You could just set a waypoint and let it go. But, you know, you're playing a game because you like trains, right? Probably. So you probably like watching them. And given that we've only got one running at the moment, we may as well watch it. Now, I deliberately haven't shown you any of the more complex topics as yet. There's things like crews and timetables and sorts of stuff. I'm just going to leave that out for now, because we want to see what a starting out person's going to do. So this is what you're going to do. All right, we've gotten up some speed now, up to 17 mile an hour, so let's bring our reverser back to about 30. That should be adequate. And that will protect our steam and water. Remember, always check. So I work as an engineman. I'm a fireman on a heritage steam railway, and there's one really main rule when you're in the cab of the locomotive. There's an awful lot of rules. I think we've got about 12,000 of them in reality, but there's one really important one, and that is no matter what else, always water visible in the glass at all times, which means that you've got water above the crown sheet or the critical part, which is the hottest part of the firebox on the top. You always want to make sure that that's covered in water. So you can see we're starting to get up to the speed limit now. So I'm going to start bringing our throttle back. Now, if you're running in AI mode, it takes care of that for yourself. And you might have wondered how I knew about the speed limit. Well, you can see here there's a 25. There's also a whistle board that I ignored, but that's okay. So we should have done this to whistle to warn motorists that we were going across the railroad crossing, or railway crossing. Now, of course, this is in the Appalachian Mountains, so you might choose to do the 14L rule. Now, you can see we're slowing down. We are both going uphill and going around a rather steep corner, so we need to increase our throttle again. But that might not be enough because we're starting to push uphill. See how we're not really picking up much speed? So let's take it up to about 50-something. We're still not really picking up any speed, are we? So let's bring our reverser back to about 40. And notice straight away we started picking up speed because we're switching between efficiency and power. So we're in a pretty good spot at the moment. We can actually open this throttle up a bit more. We'll take it up to about 80. And she will happily pick up some speed now. That's more than good enough. I would suggest to you that if you want to play this well, and you want to play it in a way that doesn't cause damage to your fleet, which costs you money, then just go easy on the trains. Treat them nicely. It's basically the same on the railway that I run on. We're nice to our trains. And as a fireman, you always know a driver that's nice to the train and a driver that's not. Because a driver that's nice to the train gives you a nice, calm day. You know where they're going to accelerate, you know where they're going to decelerate, you know where they're going to need steam, and you know when they're not. And they'll use as little steam as they possibly can. And then you get those drivers, well, let's call them nutbags. I'm just going to put that back to 30 on the reverser now, who use more steam than they need to. And that might be because they want to go faster than they need to, or it might be that they just don't know how. And of course you encounter both. It's a volunteer railway. You get good ones and bad ones. I love a day out with a good one. I like a day out with a bad one because I really enjoy the job of firing. I also enjoy driving them, which as a fireman I do get to do because it's quite a few of the drivers, especially the on-the-job training drivers, will from time to time go, hey, how about you step into my office? And they normally do that right after you've built a fire for a downhill trip. because they won't have to fire very much and they can keep an eye on you. It's not because they don't like firing. Most of our drivers do actually fire as well. It's because they need to be able to keep an eye on you to make sure that you're learning and make sure you're behaving in a safe manner. And it's the same on this railway. Behave in a safe manner, you will minimise or potentially even eliminate your derailments. They do still happen from some occasionally because some derailments are just luck. It's roll of the dice. So if I open up the map now and centre on the player, you can see we're actually getting fairly close to where we're going. So I'll just make this map a little bit smaller if it'll let me. That's about as good as we're going to get, I think. And because we're starting to get a bit close, it pays to know your railway. So I knew we were getting close just by the terrain because I'm used to looking at it. On my railway, you can actually show me a picture of a tree or a rock on the side of the track. I can fairly likely tell you where it is, nearly always. But because we're getting fairly close now, and I already pre-prepared this, so I set the switches to line us up into this track, line us up into L1, you're going to want to think about actually slowing down. But we're a little way away from that yet. We're coming up onto the first switch. So I am actually going to start reducing power at this point. I see we're coming into the first switch, and I can also tell you that it's downhill from here, so I'm going to cut off completely. Now, for ultimate realism, when you cut off, go into full gear, either forward or reverse for the direction you're going. It's just the best practice. And let's just set a light brake application just to slow us down because we are going into a dead-end siding. I want to come in there at about 8 miles an hour, so I'll release now. Takes a little while for it to release. The longer your train is, the longer it takes the brakes to apply, and the longer it takes the brakes to recharge, and the longer it takes the brakes to release. But when you're starting out, you don't have to think about that terribly much. All you have to think about at this point is not crashing into the buffers at the end there. Now, when I'm moving the camera around like this, I've just right-clicked my mouse, and I'm just moving the mouse around to show the end point. All right, we're nearly at the end. We're probably inside the loading point completely. We are, because they've all gone transparent. So let's apply the train brake there. No need to apply a really hard one, and there's no need to go right to the end of the siding either. There's just no value in it. So if we come up here, it's all about value. Because you're running a business. You need to cost as little as you can while you're doing everything. All right, so right-click our gland hand to let go. Now we're going to run our first passenger service. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back on the map and we're going to go out to our interchange and we're going to zoom down. So we've got one loco sitting there in the shed and we're going to just teleport to about here. So it's Control-T to teleport. And I'm going to tell the loco to get on this end of the passenger carriage. So I'm going to go back into AE waypoint mode and I'm going to go block because I'm not going to drive it back here. But we are going to watch and you'll see it'll just take off by itself and do its thing. We can just enjoy the view. So we can get rid of the map. It will set all of the switches or points for us. It'll be fine. And meanwhile, those cars behind us will start to load up. Now, they may have actually started already. Look at that. Magic. They've already started to load. So let's get back to our locomotive. Loading happens by magic. You don't have to do anything. The game does it all for you. Now, when you first start out, loading's a bit slow. All right. It's not like you just saw there. That's a mod that's loading that stuff up. There are tons of mods. I recommend Mods Nexus. Just Google that, you'll find it. There's tons of mods there. I use a lot by, I use Strange Customs, which is the first one you'll need. You'll need Rail Loader. You might use Unity Mod Manager. You can work that out yourself. I've got some videos on mods that show you how to do it, so I'm not going to cover that here. I use lots of mods by Alina. I use lots of mods by Foxy. They're both good people in my book because their mods work and they don't cause me any issues. I do use a heap of others as well. Go and check out the video on mods, feel free. Now you notice the train is automatically maintaining speed for the curve, so it's slowed down to 20 mile an hour for that tight squealy curve and it's sped up to 25 mile an hour for the less tight curve as it runs through here. Now when you're driving you need to do that too, because if you run through the tight curves, well, for starters, if you do it fast enough, you'll derail, and you'll have to re-rail it and repair the locomotive, and that'll cost you money. And at this early stage in the game, that could actually be the end of your game, because you won't have enough money to repair it. You'll have to take out a crippling loan and buy a new one. Because you're not going to want to be out of action for days, are you? I had a somewhat horrific derailment when I had 3 diesels out on a run, and they were running in manual mode, and I forgot about them, and they went down the hill. The big hill out of Andrews, the 5% gradient, and let's just say they made a very neat heap at the bottom. They have been on repairs now for 5 days, and they've probably got 4 or 5 to go, because it's taking a while to fix them all. That's life. So take care of your machines and they will take care of you. And if you're driving in manual mode, don't forget the train. Very important. In AE waypoint mode, you can set off as many as you want in different directions as long as they're not going to clash, and they'll just run around quite happily. So I tend to have between 7 to 10 consists on the go at any one time, moving things around the railway and doing shunting all over the place. So it's good fun. It builds up to be something that's very rewarding. You may reach a point where it starts to feel like a bit of a grind. Now, Andrews feels that way for me because it's a big, long trip between Andrews and Alaka. There's really not much that goes on in the middle. There's some stuff at Nantahala. And there's plenty of industries at Andrews itself, but it's just nothing in the middle. There's just not much going on. So I find it to be quite a grind, and it's just tedious. So I tend to think about closing down that end of the railroad. There's nothing wrong with closing something down if you don't like it. He's hooting away for the crossing there. Now this is set in the diesel transition era, so you're getting your first generation diesels among your steam engines. So 1930s, 1940s, general sort of flavour for the most part, which means those people that go, oh, you need to go long, long, short, long. No, that didn't come in yet, sorry. You can if you want to. It's your railway. Do what you want. But I won't. And you notice the AI doesn't. So we're getting back down here now, and we're going to pick up our passenger cars, and we're going to go and do a passenger run, and then I will accelerate time because we want to see our contracts happen. But let's get a passenger run out of the way just so we wake up the passenger system. Now, with passengers, you've got 4 hours to deliver them from the point where they get on to the point that they want to get off. You can make them change trains if you want to. I do that a lot. When you expand out to Alaka, I won't explain the reasons why I do or don't at this point. But you can get them off one train and put them on another one. That's not an issue. But you only have 4 hours total. And from the bottom of the railroad, which is Silver, to the top of the railroad, which is Andrews, can take a couple of hours to make that run. So if you've got some delays somewhere, if your passenger train gets held up because you've got some freight moves or you've got some crossing passenger moves, the time adds up. You've got to be a little bit careful. At this stage of the game, don't worry about it at all. The stations are 5 minutes apart. You've only got 2, unless you expand. Now, I expanded really early. I think I expanded on the second day of running the railway. I purchased the track to Silver. I made enough money to do that. But it might have been the third day, actually. Probably wasn't the second day. Now, a day takes real time. If it takes 12 hours in the day, it takes 12 hours in the game. So watch that. Let's hook that up. That handbrake is not on. This is our happy little passenger car. You'll notice it's lettered. You can customize them if you want to. This is a cool thing to do. So you go into Inspect, Equipment, Customize, and we might decide that we want it to be, I don't know, maybe we want it to be purple. And we'll go nice deep purple. There we go. That's a good one. All right, and lettering color, yellow would probably be a good contrast with that. So let's go yellow. That looks pretty good. And you can have other colors and things if you want to, but and you can have your own cars too. So you could have the I don't know, Passengers of the Apocalypse. You could have passengers on there if you want to. Or you could have nothing and it'll just revert back to your name of your railway. And you can copy those things to all your other passenger cars. But of course we don't have many. So there's no point. There we go. We've got our purple passenger car. So what are we going to do with this now? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to take coal and water. So let's just get back into manual mode and release the brakes, go into forwards and a little bit of throttle. And let's come up here because this is where it's going to come to, and we will try and stop it in the right spot. Give her a bit more now she's moving. Bit more. Remember, it's a passenger car, it's pretty heavy. It's a lot heavier than those empty log cars we took. Just one passenger car is heavier than those empty log cars. If you overload your trains, they will either not be able to get up a hill somewhere, or they'll just wear out quicker. And you have to pay for wear, funnily enough. So we've got a little train coming down here. We'll just leave it in full forward for the moment because it really doesn't matter when you're not actually consuming any steam. And what we're going to want to do is stop the water hatch right in front of the water column here. So we'll center that. Let's get rid of this little inspection panel. And in a moment we should see it. You can use the whistle, which will help tell you how close it is. See how it gets louder? All right, so I'm just going to use the independent brake because we've only got the one car on and it's a bit easier to use. And we want to keep that going until we're just under the things. We open up our hatch there. So I just clicked on the little water hatch to open it. Let's just give it a bit more, a little bit more. It's a bit mean to your passengers to be using the independent brake. And you want to stop it when it's roughly in front of the column, about there. All right, so click on your column to bring it out and it will automatically fill your car. And you've got 2,750 at the moment. You see it's already filling up. This car takes about 4,000, I'm going to say. So that will happen, and next we'll fill up some coal, just so you know how to do this, because it's kind of important that you know. Because you will need to do it fairly regularly. The other thing, remember, the other thing you need to do is the oiling. So whenever you're filling with water, you can check your oil, 97%. You've only got to oil one end or the oil loco and oil the cars. You only do one bogey because the other one will be the same. All right, it's finished with water. That was pretty quick because this is a small one. So brakes off. Quick toot for moving and take it up until it's under the coal bunker. I'll just scoot along with it so we can see when it happens. A bit more. You don't have to be particularly precise with the coal bunker. We'll start that loading. Just click on it to make it drop down and we'll close the water hatch as well. And the little animation starts. And this thing doesn't load very quickly. So when you get your big locomotives, you're going to want a coaling tower. But when you get to that point in the railway that you actually need that, then all will become apparent. You will have it. The railway gives you what you need, sort of. Sometimes you got to buy it. Sometimes it just gives it to you because it's friendly. All right, that is done. So what are we going to do now? Well, we're going to do our passenger run. So let's right-click on that passenger car and do inspect. And we go passenger. Now we've only got two stations to choose from. We've got Whittier and Ella, and we looked at both of those a little while ago. And we'll copy that to all the other cars, even though there aren't any, and we will go from there. Now, you can create timetables and all sorts of wonderful wizardry, or you can just do this. So inspect, and we're going to go to Ella, because that's where we're going to go to. And we want to be on the main line, so we'll do a waypoint, and we'll put it about there, because that means the passenger car will be in the platform. And we'll come back and watch our train. And I'll just turn off the little tabs, because they get rid of the immersion. So let's just press the tab key to get rid of the tabs. How about that? And we can just watch our little train here for a little while. Let's have a bit of a cup of tea. That's not what I was having earlier. I do have a little bit of a sore throat. And let's just call it mouthwash, shall we? Because you wouldn't have anything else when you're driving a train. Not a real one, anyway. And while it might seem funny to say, you know, having something that wasn't mouthwash while you're driving a train in a game, has no consequences, and that's very, very true. Interestingly enough for me, you know, having one like that, no one's going to bat an eye. But if I sat here constantly sozzling down beers, for example, it could actually cause questions for me on my railway. Now, did you notice it slowed down then and it changed those points? So the AI did that. It changes points when it gets very close to minimise the opportunities of a clash, but that does mean sometimes it needs to slow down. So it's coming up to Whittier now, so we're just about there. East Whittier is our depot back behind us. And it will automatically stop in this station. Now there is a water tower here. It fills at about the same speed as the column does. You can hear it dinging away to come into the passenger station because it's an American railway, and American railways, well, they have big dingers. Now, if we scoot up here to the station before this train gets here and just hover over this side window, you can see there's 30 passengers waiting. And there's also a freight waybill, which is... that's the one we dropped off, so that's the repair carriage. And we've got 30 passengers that are going, funnily enough, to Ella, because it's the only place they can go. And in our car, we have, funnily enough, 0 passengers. So we will see the 30 passengers start to drop here, now that we've stopped in the station. And they should start getting onto the train. They should. They don't seem to be, but they should. Oh, there they go. Yeah, they're dropping down now and they should be picking up on the train. They do take a little while. In your settings, you can set your minimum stop. So, features... no, actually, that's not what I wanted. I wanted company, and I want settings, the main settings. Interchange served at 6 o'clock, that's fine. And minimum stop duration is 1 minute, so that's fine. That's good. Now, you can change all sorts of other things. You can turn on and off some of the features that some people might find a little bit annoying. So we've got everybody. Everybody's on board. In a moment, it will go. The clocks do show the real time, by the way, just out of interest. So at 9:50 something. And we're off now to Ella, which is our one and only station stop. So there's all sorts of weird and wonderful settings for you to go and explore by yourself, but the only one that I would suggest is you drop the minimum station time for passenger trains down to a minute, because I think by default they sit there for 10 minutes and that's just annoying. They just get in the way. So keep them out of the way. And you can keep these little locos. So about day 5, you'll be able to afford bigger locos. Hold off for a little while. When you can buy a decent locomotive, do. Your freight needs decent locomotives. In this first part where it's pretty flat, you can do all your freight with the little ones and it doesn't really matter. You'll be fine. But as you expand the railway beyond the confines of Ella to East Whittier, you will very quickly need bigger locomotives. I'd wait until you can get about a third of the way down the list before you bother buying anything. And the other thing I'd do is have a look at your locomotive. So the main things are the consumption of fuel and the tractive effort. So tractive effort's probably the most important thing because that tells you the biggest train it can lift. And that number is reduced when you're on a hill, of course. But it's the biggest train it can lift on a flat. The term lifting is what's used to describe getting a train moving. Love all the routes out in the open air here. It's very cool. Now this thing runs in Unity engine, which does have relatively nice lighting at the start and end of the day. It's fairly pleasant during the day as well for the most part. The sky does jarring things occasionally like it just did. But apart from that, it's pretty good. It's a little way to Ella, so it will be a little while. Now, I talked about creating timetables, but to be honest with you, I wouldn't bother. And when you first do this, doing one run up and back will be enough to satisfy demand in a day. In time, you'll need to buy more passenger cars. I think on my trains, I think I'm currently running 10 cars on the bigger sets and 8 cars on the smaller sets and 6 on the branch line set. So it does get pretty hectic, and I have had to put fairly decent locomotives on the passenger trains as well. They're not as big as the freight ones still, but they're still pretty good. While this is heading off down here, why don't we go and have a look at VSBR number 1. Let's just see how our repairs are progressing. So if we just click on new and do inspect, we can see that we're up to 71%. So I think we were 70 before. So it's picking up. Still 12 hours to go because, we haven't done that much. You could sell the thing and make some money, but you're going to need it, so don't do that. That'd be a bad idea. But we will, remember, make a little bit of cash on this caboose. So if we look at you, our sell value, $3,750. So we're going to make some money there. And that's important just to get a bit of money in the bank because you need a bit of capital. Now, why am I getting rid of my caboose? Because they're pointless. Now, if you want to run a strictly prototypical American railroad, of course you're going to need them and you're going to need lots of them. But to me, they get in the way and they're annoying, so I don't run them. Because in reality, the guard would quite happily run in here. Guard or brakeman or whatever. He can just ride along in the passenger coach. No problem. So we run driver-only operation on the very small beginning railway. Or railroad, I should say. We'd call it a railway here in Australia, but it's a railroad to the local people. We are now arriving in at Ella. And we can see our other industries there that we don't have contracts for at the moment. Now we'll just leave this thing here because it's going to finish its job. And you could either propel it back the other way and just push it, or you could pull it forward and run around. I will show you how to do that because it's not hard. But while that's happening and it's automatically dumping people at Ella, let's just come around a corner here because, oh no, there's something missing. Track. This is the path to Bryson. And you need to build this bridge to get started out to Bryson. But don't do that for a little while. Don't fall into the trap of expanding too quickly. Just don't need to, because with greater expansion comes greater debt as well. All right, let's see what's going on here at Ella. So we've got 25 passengers waiting, and funnily enough, they want to go to Whittier, and we've got people getting off this one. Now, no one's going to get on this car because it doesn't go there yet. So we can inspect it, and I'm going to do this before we run it around. I'm going to retick Whittier. And just as a habit, I'm going to copy it to the other cars, even though I know there aren't any. Which means the Whittier people will start to get on this train when the Ella people finish getting off. They're very polite, you see. No one gets on until everybody else gets off. There's none of this pushing. Let's see our counts going down. Now, our 25 count at Whittier depots, or 4 Whittier depot, is staying the same. And you'll see them start to get on in a moment. And there we go. They are starting to. So at this point, you can either just push this back, which is called propelling, back to the other station. And, to be honest, if you're playing on your own, I would. Deliberately not talking about multiplayer, by the way, when I say playing on your own. Let's get started. Let's learn the railway before we try and kick into something like multiplayer. Now, multiplayer is great. You can establish a server yourself or you can join someone else's. If you've got mods, they must have all the same mods that you do. Okay, so we are departing Ella Station. So we've got all of our people. It's ready to rock and roll, and you'll notice it's already at the waypoint. So what we're going to do is we're going to set a waypoint here just before this road crossing. So we're going to go here. And the reason we're going to do that is because we're going to run around this carriage. So that'll take it far enough that the carriage will clear the points. Probably. Should. Good enough. Yeah, be fine. No problems at all, in fact. Lovely. All right. So once we get up here and we come to a stop, we will get in here and do a few things once it stops. You can stop it early if you want to. You just press the stop button. So we'll apply the handbrake so it doesn't roll away. Shift click the glad hands, undo the couplers, and we're lazy, so we'll do an AE waypoint back to here. And then let's just sit back and watch what it does. Because, you know, it's fun. It's basically going to run around by itself now. So it's going to go up to that switch up the far end up there, the one that we flew past a moment ago, and then it'll come back down here. And I will now take our passengers back to the next station, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to advance the time to the next day. So we'll go for a sleep. And the reason we're going to do that is we've kind of done everything that we need to do for today. We've picked up our contracts. We've done our first passenger run, and that should already be helping our railway. So we don't have a reputation yet because we haven't had a day, but we'll have a reputation when we tick over to midnight. None of these things are going to change yet. None of the milestones, because we're not doing anything of it just yet. I would, just out of interest, to make the railway interesting, I would buy the tractor silver before I build the bridge to Bryson, because I think that's a worthwhile thing to do, but at the moment you actually can't. And you've got three things that you can do, and the only reason you can't is the bank. The bank's empty. Only got $5,000, and we made $30 in passenger fares. Ooh, big deal, big deal. You make a lot more with freight. Let's just say that. You'll see how much money we make when I tick over the day, and we'll do some deliveries for tomorrow. Now, I picked up quite a few contracts. What did I pick up? 5 or something? Maybe 6, 5, I think. So we'll have deliveries to make. And by the time we've ticked over the day, we will have 2 locomotives to do it, which will be lovely because we can do one with the passengers and the other one we can start doing our deliveries, which will be very nice. One can take the passenger run while we start sorting, and then when the passenger run comes back, it can go and get the logs and put those in while the other one starts doing the freight deliveries. All right, so it's going to come down here. It will switch these points by itself. And the lights will come on, and it will come this way in a moment. There we go, lights on. And it'll come pick up the car by itself. But we'll have to hook up the ankle cocks and the hoses. I'm not sure if there's a setting that lets you put those onto automated. Doesn't look like it. No, doesn't look like it. Not yet. Alrighty, so let's right shift click the glad hand, hop back up here and get rid of the handbrake. This purple dot means the handbrake's on. So when I release the handbrake, it goes orange again. And we're going to tell our train to go to Whittier, funnily enough. But it will also stop at Ella, which by now might actually have some more people. And it does. See, look, it's got one more person. So let us jump into the map and let's just wander out to Whittier, down this way a bit, and tell it we want to come down here. So we'll be friendly to the locals, and we will set a stop right before the road, which will be perfect for us. It won't block the road, and it will achieve the thing of getting into the station. And let's follow that down here, and then we'll switch to a new day. And we will tick the day over. And the reason I want to do that again is so the contracts start. Because there's really nothing else to do on day one. We've done it all. And you can see we've used 200 pounds of coal. And we've used, what, about 200 odd gallons of water as well. So we're running on a flat. You don't tend to use very much when you're running on a flat, because we're on a floodplain here. Some of the mods give you some amusement value, like they'll actually create a flood. Whatever floats your boat, I guess. Now down at East Whittier, which is the staging yard, because I've got mods, I've got quite a few tracks to play with. I think you'll have 3, if I remember correctly, to do your sorting. Now in my settings, I do have my interchange blocked by destination, which means that for the most part, the carriages will actually appear set up, coupled together for the destinations they're going to. So everything for Whittier will be in one, everything for Ella will be in another one. You can change that to make it more and more or less and less shunting as you go. Wear and tear, strongly encourage you to leave that on. It's just general goodness. 2,500 miles is pretty normal. It'll take you a long time to get to that. Hot boxes are random, so if you don't oil, I can guarantee you'll get one, but even if you do oiling, you might get one. When you get a hot box, you need to take it to a repair place and have it fixed. And you can do on some of the things for whether they do passenger stops by themselves, or whether they they'll call signals by themselves, and whether they will do crossings by themselves, which is the things. Now, the multiplayer stuff, you can set up your server. I'm not actually going to do that for the moment for reasons. And our interchange is served at 6 AM, so that'll be fine. It'll be daylight. And we will open up the time window shortly and advance the time. I think you can all do that from up here as well now. So you just click on the time in the top right hand corner and you're going to whack the sleep button. The wait feature is to just affect time. So if you've got a carriage that's maybe really close to being full and you think it'll be full in an hour, you click wait an hour and then it'll be full and you can deal with it. Or you can just ignore it till the next day like I do. You get used to ignoring stuff, because if you don't, your 12-hour shift on the railway might be 20 hours. So don't be a perfectionist is some advice I would give you. Definitely not. We are just about back at Whittier. Pop into the map and centre on the player. We are coming into the lead-in switch into Whittier. We're going to leave our passenger coach on the main line because we've got another one to play with, so we don't need the main line. It's not a great practice to leave things sitting around on the main line, but we're gonna. Because we can. So we will. Now remember, when you stop things in this game is not like most train simulators, alright? It's a bit like, there's another one I can think of, which is Derail Valley and Diesel Railcar Simulator. They're the only other two I can think of where trains that are not in use have physics. So if you don't put handbrakes on, they will roll away when you least expect it. And they'll wait until you're not watching and then they'll do it. Been there, done that. So this bloke's coming in for the station stop. He's just about ready. There's 25 passengers here. There's probably more passengers waiting to go back. Yeah, there's another 20 waiting to go back. So we could just keep running back and forth all day, making money, basically. But whether you're making more money than it costs you in coal, water's free, coal's not. So we're not going to bother with those passengers. So I'm going to let this stop. Now remember what I said about the 4 hours? It starts when they load, not when they got to the station. So they'll be getting off now. So I've put the handbrake on and we'll leave that there. We will take this little fella down here. Just bring it down here so it's ready at the interchange. We might even use our second loco, even though it's actually it will be ready, won't it? So let's actually, I don't know where the interchange starts because I've got these mods. So let's just bring it here. And we will wait until all the passengers have gotten off that car. So let's just pop back here. Just make sure it's, once it's empty, I'll do the sleep. You don't want to do it beforehand because your passengers will run into the 4 hours. So you've got to wait for them all to get off. No one will get on because we didn't set a destination. There we go, we're down to 0. So we'll go time and sleep. Just follow our train while we're doing that as it goes through the night. Can operate at night, the lighting is quite playable. And we've got 9 cars at the interchange, there we go. And we just saw our reputation has gone up as well. So let's get rid of the time window. Go back to railroad, reputation's 110%, there you go. 100% network passenger service. You don't actually have to satisfy all the passengers. You have to get all the ones that you pick up where they're going within the 4 hours to keep that 100%. But if you've got passengers sitting around at stations that you haven't addressed, nah, they don't matter. They're all good. You can see dawn's starting to break here. And we might just fly ahead down to the interchange and see what's happening. See what there is. So there's a bunch of stuff here. The caboose didn't go, which is interesting. So that would suggest it's not actually on an interchange track, and it's not. Look at that. So you get 2 tracks on the interchange. So we should probably put that on the interchange so it goes away. So we've got 2 carriages for Ella Farm Supply. We have 1 for Holyfield Heating, and by experience, I know that will be there for a long time. We've got 2 for Stenzel Manufacturing, and you'll get used to where everybody is. And we've got 1, 2, 3 for the sawmill, and the other one is an empty car for picking stuff up. So I would suggest let's start with the sawmill stuff just because that's here. So we will do those ones, and we'll get the other loco out. We can start doing the others, I think. Still early. Now let's have a look at our contracts. So we should be able to see what we're supposed to do now too. So if we look at the Holyfield Heating, so we've got no reporting yet. Stenzel Manufacturing. Production's stopped because it's waiting for metal stock, so it's not doing anything, and that's what's in these cars, funnily enough. Whittier Depot is, that's the depot itself, and the sawmill. So it wants 8 cars of logs. So it wants us to bring those there, and production has stopped because it's got no logs, so you need to stay in front of that. So let's get this train onto this and break it up. So we could use the whole train. It's not a very long one, but let's just break it up so you get to see what shunting's like. And we should also, if I pop into the shed, this loco, if we have a look at it, inspect it, should now be at 100%, and it is. But we can't do anything with it yet because we still have no water and coal in it. So we'll do the sawmill deliveries, and then I think we might just water and coal that one, and it will magically have steam after that. So I'm going to brake this train down here. So I will put this handbrake on. I just right-clicked it. Left, right, click, and I might have to click that coupler again, depending on how hard it hits. Yeah, I think it did. I think I heard it go. It did. All right, so what we'll do now is we will take these and we'll stick them in this track down here. There is method to my madness. We've got one with a handbrake on, which is that one. Now, I haven't put the air through, and I'm not going to bother because we're shunting on a flat, so it doesn't matter. Now, we're going to have to run around these because we need to push them into their various sidings up there. You'll have a slightly harder time with this because you'll have to use the other end of this because you won't have all of these tracks. But that's fine. It's the same principle. Now, when I drop these ones off and I need to run around them, on the way I'm going to grab this loco out so I can start filling it with coal and water while we wait. And if I can position it well enough, we might get really lucky and I can do both. Maybe. Depends how long its tender is. Now, just out of interest, you can do something. We didn't put the air through. You can, if I can get onto it. Let's just click the coupler. There we go. We've let it go and we'll press stop. That's called kicking. So we don't want to let them go too far. So we'll come down here and put a handbrake on in a minute. Now that it's cleared that switch, we can go inspect and apply handbrake, and that'll be fine. Now, if they were to run through that switch at the other end, they might actually derail, so you've got to be careful. Now, let's go and get our friend out so we can start filling him up so he's useful. Probably should have done this before I put it in the shed, to be honest. That would have been quicker. Well, not quicker, but more useful, because it would have been useful straight away this morning. And you see we consumed the money when we went over the night time too. So remember we made about $60 in train fares yesterday, and we've consumed money repairing that locomotive. There's always fees. And we didn't get the money for the caboose because we had not put it on the right track. That'll be fine. We'll make sure that happens before the next sleep. You can schedule your interchange to have a special run if you want to. That's a double-edged sword because, of course, you get more cars to sort. And stick with small. Make your play sessions a couple of hours until you're into the game and you're fully committed and you're prepared to spend some real time in it. Now, it'd be better to get onto the other end of this train, and I could if the boxcar wasn't there, but I won't, because it would have been good to push it up and then get out and do our thing. But we'll just do our thing anyway. It'll be fine. Now, the sheds are always flat. You don't need to put handbrakes on in the sheds. That's fine. So once that couples, I'm not going to bother putting the air through. I shouldn't have to, because it shouldn't have any air in it because I didn't connect it up yesterday. We'll know in a minute if we need to. Let's bring it here as just a bit of a rough guess. And can it move? Yes, it can. If it can't move, they will do 3 honks at you to let you know they can't move. And you'll get a little toast message turning up here as well. So if I can position this thing well enough that we can fluke it and be able to fill up both, that would be awesome. Let's just zoom in and get the little water hatch open. It's got a fairly long tender, so we might be able to do this. Let's just take ours into manual. Brakes off. I'm going to keep it rolling. I think it's probably going to be not quite long enough to do what I want to do. You can miss the hatch a little bit. Maybe we'll get away with it. So it's missed the hatch there. It's about as far as you want to go. It's no, fill. I didn't mean to click you. I'm sorry. And I don't think it'll fill from here. It would dump it all in the cab. No. So even though we actually missed the hatch, it's still not going to let us do it. That's fine. I'll just sit here for a moment. Because what we're going to do, let's just talk about what we're going to do next. So this is empty. So it needs to go onto the interchange, as does our little caboose. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this set of cars. So we've got C2, which is one of the sidings behind us, and SO1 and or 2. When it's got 2 destinations, you can put it in either. C2 goes over there, and SO0102 can go into either of these sidings. Just put them all in as once. Then we've got these ones up here. So we've got 2 for Ella, and we've got Holyfield. Holyfield, we need to be on the back of it to push it in there. Stenzels, we need to be on the front of them to push them in, just because of the way the sidings are done. And you'll get used to all of that. It's not complex particularly. Now, once I get this one full, we will use this one to push those cars into the sawmill. We'll use this one to take the other cars out to Whittier. And then I think we'll do something clever. We'll run a mixed to get the other ones going. All right, so let's fall forward, brake off. If you're on a hill, you put the brake off after you start moving. Alrighty, let's just stop you there. And you'll start filling up with coal, which means you'll automatically get steam and water in a few minutes because it's magic. And let's put our number 2 locomotive, the waypoint, on here. And this one, completely by magic, will start having steam and water. Just close this little hatch so we don't get any coal in there. This one should already be starting to raise steam, I think. Should be. Should be. I think it gets triggered when the bunker actually fills up for the first time. I would suggest getting into the habit of coaling and watering before you put the locomotives to bed, because there's nothing more disappointing than being all revved up, ready to run your railway the next day, only to discover you've got no steam. So that should start getting steam now. We should actually be able to move this one fairly soon. Probably now, actually, I would think. Let's go into A waypoint. There we go. Look, it's already got steam. So there's smoke happening, there's steam coming out of there, so yeah, she's good. So as long as we don't go too hard, she'll be fine. So let's take this lot. And we'll just wait for the other one to clear the switches so it doesn't get confused. Right, do that now, and we shall get on the front of that with that one. So that one's going to run around the back of that set because that's what I asked it to do. And we'll go through and play through this day because after this it's pretty much rinse and repeat until you start to expand and get some more destinations, and then it's pretty much rinse and repeat with more destinations. So I think you're getting all the basics of what you need to know, like how to find where things are. So you can see that they highlight. If it's one that's too far away so it can't highlight, it just tells you it's 2.9 miles away, and you can inspect the car and click on the little map thing and it'll take you there. So it's good for setting waypoints, for example. So let's go back and look at VSBR 1. She's ready to do her first trip of the day. She's going to head out to Whittier. Funnily enough, that's where we've got our passenger carriage stashed. Now we've got a handbrake on there. That's the only one. We can see that the brakes have released on all of the others. So why don't we use this? So we'll go inspect. Operations, head off to Stenzel, but we're not going to set that as our waypoint. We're going to set our waypoint up here somewhere on track 2. And we'll just set it there. That'll be fine. And we'll come back and watch her start. Now, I think the other thing should be actually on its train by now as well. Now, let's just take that handbrake off because I think the loco's on the back. It is. It's ready to go. So the first carriage is going to go into C2. So we will just set a waypoint for C2. And this is for better star number 1 because she's running. And we'll just set a waypoint for number 2 in here. There is no need to put the air through on a short train. Don't be concerned about that. If you do it with a long train, you might find she has some difficulty stopping. Why do I say she? Locomotives are always she. Don't know why, they just are. Let's just do a nice run by here. Now the lettering on the sides of the boxcars and the logos, that's a mod. Just saying, they're very plain out of the box. So we've got our other train here which is heading in for the siding. You can see that there is a bit of a gradient in the track here, so remember what I said about handbrakes. Don't forget them. Or you will find your carriages have gone somewhere that you don't like. In a waypoint mode, they will automatically slow down to an appropriate speed. They will not generally derail their train. They do occasionally. Not often, just occasionally. All right, let's get our first car delivered. Won't make any money because it's just bringing in an empty car. And remember, you can double check where they're supposed to go, so it's going to go here. As long as you've got one set of wheels on the highlighted area, that's enough. So we will set this handbrake, just do it by clicking there. No, we did get paid for that. We got $53. Look at that. Told you make more money with freight. Now the other ones are going to go over there. So we will just set our waypoint there. You don't want to set it right on the buffer because they'll hit it and you'll damage the cars, and you have to pay for damage to the cars, funnily enough. And after we've done this run, we will take that one and send it round to pick up the logs. I think would be a good next thing for it to do. We do have a couple of jobs up here to do. We need to get these two cars and we need to put them both into the interchange tracks so that they'll get serviced tomorrow. But that's not a big deal. And like I said, don't worry too much about stuff that's supposed to go to an interchange today. If you leave it too long, you can end up paying late delivery fees, but don't worry too much about that at this point. Okay, that one's got up to East Whittier, so let's go have a look. I've selected the other locomotive here, and we'll pop up there with the eyeball. And we are pretty much right to go into Stenzel. So let's just pop on a handbrake, undo the couplers, and we will tell it to put these first two into Stenzel over here. And don't worry about getting to know where everything is. You'll just come to know over time. A little bit of learning at first. Remember, you just highlight the thing and then it shows where it wants to go. So if I highlight the Stenzel ones, they want to come here. And funnily enough, the Holyfield car will want to go over there. Holyfield's very slow consumer, so don't expect a lot of cars for Holyfield. Now, because we are about to go to Ella as well, let's just jump onto here and go inspect. And let's get these guys loading up. So we're going to go to Ella. So you can see the money starting to pile up, but you've got to be careful because the fees start to pile up as well. We're going to have to spend some money, remember, to get that car. So if I have a look at locations, East Whittier interchange. So we're going to have to spend $3,000 to get more repair parts. Now we can delay that. We don't have to put that off to the interchange today because we don't have any repairs to do. So I would suggest it would be prudent to actually not drop that one into the interchange at this point, rather than just do it like I was planning on it. Build up some cash first. When you first start, you will find that it takes a while to get the money. Now, if you do find that it's getting too grindy, there is a cheat to get money. Basically convert your game into sandbox mode using the console, which is the apostrophe, and get some cash and then put it back into career mode. Now, I will leave you to figure out that one for yourself. Just with some Googling, just Google the Railroader cash hack, and that'll do it for you. So let's pop that handbrake on. Get off there, and we will get onto the back of this. So we'll take the other ones with us because it's not a big deal. Because there's only two of them. If there was 50, you wouldn't do this, but there's only two. Now, while that's happening, let's flip back to our friend because he's done his job. And we've been paid for all these cars, so handbrake on. And get that off. And let's go out to Connolly and go and get those logs. So we want to pop out to here. So just click on the map where you want to go and then Control-T to teleport. Our logs have loaded up quite happily, and even in the vanilla version they would have by now. You've always got to make sure you're not changing orders for the wrong locomotive too. It's very easy to do. So if we come out here now, we should see our little light engines taking off, and he's going to head out. Something that's always worth doing is just regularly hover over and see how much coal and water they've got. Depending on the jobs, you might be able to go for a few days without coaling them, but best habit is do it at the end of each day or when they need it. All right, so VSBR 1 is about to couple up as well, so let's flip back to him. Now we've got almost no cars, and are these empty? No, they're actually quite heavy, so I am going to put the air through. So these are all heavy cars. And we can get the handbrake off. Remember, we put one on here. And now we will tell it, the cameras on this thing are terrible. You just hold down the right mouse button and move. That's what moves your cameras, and it's a bit shitty. And we'll get this guy going over here and dump this one off. And then we'll go back and put those cars on the end of the passenger carriage. And then we'll be just about done for day 2, to be honest. Just got to get that stuff around to Ella. So we're being very efficient. Or is it officious? Let's go and have a look at VSBR 2. Where are you hiding, fella? You are flying on. Look at that. Just ripping it. Grip it and rip it. So she's about to go into the Y, and our other one is accelerating into the Holyfield siding now. You will learn to hold 50 things in your head while they do stuff. You know what I said about the nice lighting? It's very pretty early in the morning. There's our other guy shunting up there. Let's pop up to that one because it's going to need our attention in a moment because it's pushing into Holyfield now. And then we're going to do something completely unprototypical. No, we're not. Yes, we are. We're going to be sneaky. Do something no railway would ever do. Actually, little short lines might, to be honest. And this is very much a short line. All right, you can see that that has darkened. See how they're solid or see-through? Solid ones are not delivered. See-through ones are in the right place. Bung on a handbrake. Get in close because shift click doesn't work when you're too far away. And we're going to go and stick these two Ella cars. We're going to leave them the way they are. And we're going to tell our locomotive to come and jump on the front of the passenger car. Like I said, you'd never do this. You would never have stuff at both ends of the train. Now, you might remember I told this thing to load up. We've got 42 passengers in there now. And we can see VSBR 2 is still trundling along, so there's no need to have a look at that one yet. Still doing 24 mile an hour. When it gets to the log cars, we can do something about that. One of the most important things I can suggest to you on a railway is the hurry up and wait. Get used to it. Takes time to run a railway. Now there's method to my madness in doing this and having the loco in the middle of this consist, and you will see why when we get to Ella, and I will explain it. But let's for now just say it will be more convenient to do it this way. Now it's going to have to run around all the way around the corner to come back here. And I was going to say, let's fly off and do something else, but what else is there to do? We can go and have a look at VSBR 2, I suppose. On my big game, I actually classify my locomotives. So this little one, for example, I'd probably use as a passenger. I give them names. If I go into customization, I wouldn't use my reporting mark anymore. I'd call this one, let's say it's Pax, for passenger. And the other one, VSBR 1, if we inspect that one, I would call that through customize general, because it is. So why have I called this one passenger even though it's clearly doing freight duties? It's because it's such a light duty locomotive, it's going to be much better off being my passenger engine. And the other one will be much better off being my freight engine. You can join them together and run multiple unit. I might show you how to do that. You don't really need that early in your career, but I'll show you how just so you know. We'll do that at the end of the day. And the reason I name them that way, and it gives it a classification system, so I might have, say, 4 generals and 2 passenger locomotives, or I might have 2 logging locomotives and some generals. I also sometimes give them funny names. I had, for example, Kermit and Miss Piggy with a green and a pink locomotive. You know, just things that you do because you can. Now, these are heavy, so we will put the air through. And they're going to be a pretty heavy load for this little thing, to be honest with you. Now, something we need to do, because this is our first time, you don't need to do this ever again. And we couldn't do this before because we didn't actually have the contracts. It wouldn't let me. We go into operations, and our unload point will be the only one that we've got for our contract, so it knows about it, which is Whittier Sawmill. Copy that to all connected cars. And you want to copy the waybills. This one copies the destination. Sorry, this one cycles the destinations to copy the waybills. You don't generally need to cycle your destinations, but you can. So if we go back into inspect on that one again and go to Whittier Sawmill R1 and set that as a destination. So we'll go, not General 1. Remember what I said about getting them right? And of course, the irony is the passenger is doing the logging run. Now, you'll see what I mean about she'll struggle a bit with this load. She's got to lift it uphill too. It's a bit heavy for her. She'll do it, but it's a bit heavy. So it's going to take her a little while to get moving. This tiny locomotive is probably best suited to around, on the flat, 381 tonnes will be fine. But on hills, you probably don't want any more than about 250 for this. Just hasn't got the oomph. She's doing okay. She will use a lot more water now that she's pulling a heavy load. So it's something to keep an eye on. Be fine for now. We've got 3,500 gallons and not an issue at all. But just something to bear in mind. So General 1's ready. So let's flip back to General 1 and we are hooked up. We've got a handbrake on. So let's get the air through. Might seem funny that the automatic brake system would work this way, but of course it does. And where are we taking this lot? We're going to Ella Farm Supply. So if we go inspect and let's go there, bonk. But I'm not actually going to take them directly into the farm supply at all because I want to stop at the passenger depot. So what I'm going to do is I am going to set General 1's waypoint to here. Now, there is something that I'm going to want to do, though, that was kind of important that I didn't just do. So let's just quickly flick back there to Ella. Now, I'm stopping that locomotive there, but I'm going to want to set these points. And in fact, what I might do is actually just set the waypoint here so it knows that we're going to go onto this track. Otherwise, it might set the points back by itself. That would be a little bit uncool. So she's going nicely in the early morning light. You don't ever see your passengers. They are invisible. There is a mod that will put passengers in there, but you only get about 3 of them. So there's no point, really. And now we're just at one of those hurry up and wait moments where we've got 2 trains running. They're both doing jobs, and there's not much we can do about either of them. Pax 2 will probably finish its job before it, because it's got less distance to travel. If we look on the map, we can see this one's only just leaving Whittier, and his Pax 2 rolling along through here. It should actually be Pax 1, shouldn't it? Let's fix that. Let's fix that. Pax number 1. No, I've got Pax 1 and General 1. See, we're intending inspection. Now, of course, if you're being smart, you could say Pax 1000 and General 1000, so your railway looks bigger. To people from the outside, you go, oh, he's got 1,000 locomotives. You might laugh at that, but it's actually a common marketing trick used by a lot of organisations. They might have 3 vans, for example, a little plumbing company, and they'll number their vans like 91, 92, and 93, making you think that they're a huge fleet. It's a very common trick. Because it's all about perception, it's not about facts. Now coming back into the Y here at Whittier. And she'll automatically take the right path for herself. After we drop these, I'll put the caboose onto the right siding, and then I will send this one up to Ella. Just so, actually no, I'll send it to Whittier. We'll do the multi-unit at Whittier. That'll be quicker. Bring them home with multi-unit. How about that? So General's still running along at full track speed at 34 mile an hour. So we can ignore that one for a little while and just watch this one. I think the most trains I've had on the move at one time is about 11. 6 main lines and the rest were shunters. So I tend to collect shunters for each location, so I keep one at Whittier. And Whittier serves East Whittier and some of the other nearby stations. You'll find that it's best to, when you get a bit more track, over-carry the freight in sometimes. So you take a big train and over-carry it to a more central location, and East Whittier is one of the good spots where you can do a little bit more marshalling or shunting or sorting and take things to where they need to go from there. And your main train keeps going along its merry way, heading out there. So if we look at the sawmill, you'll discover locations. Whittier sawmill, production is stopped. So there's actually 2 things stopping it. It didn't have a waste car, didn't have anywhere to put its byproducts, or its output, I should say. But most importantly, the first thing stopping it was log cars. Now, at this time in a Tier 1 contract, once you've earned some respect, so you've got some performance, you can change to Tier 1, 2 or 3. Eventually you get up to Tier 5. There are mods that give you higher tiers. You don't really need them. You can keep yourself plenty entertained. But if you like really long trains, you might do some of those. But I like to keep myself entertained running the mixed goods. Some people like giant block trains. I mean, I know one guy that does nothing but coal. He never got contracts with any other industries. He used the cash cheat, set him up with a massive coal railroad. And he used mods to increase the production of all the mines. And that's what he does. He loves giant coal trains. Good on him. I've played on his multiplayer server, and we've done some dumb things like trying to ride a coal train down the hill with no locomotive using just the handbrakes to control the speed. That predictably went well. Very. Alrighty, these will be pretty much in their targeted spot now. This thing holds, I think, 12 cars in total. And at the higher levels, you will need to buy some more skell cars. These are skells, skeleton log cars. All right, pop on a handbrake, you only need 1. Physics are totally unrealistic in that sense. And let's get this little caboose into the right track. So, PAX 1. Doing well. Other half sneezing behind me and me coughing over here. I actually think the place we went to on the weekend, someone there was a bit sick. All right, let's leave that happening because General 1 is at the station stop. So let's just pop out here. Now we're going to... Actually, we might wait till the station stop is completed. No, let's not bother. Let's apply a handbrake. Unhook this little fella. Now, where are these going? They're going up there. There's plenty of room to do this manoeuvre with this few cars, so we'll just do it. It's going to do several parts to this manoeuvre, and that'll be fine. So it's going to run ahead on that track. Then it'll run back down into the head shunt here. A dead end thing is called a head shunt. And then it'll pop up there into the Ella Farm Supply. You could just kick them like I did before. It does save time, but it can also turn into a mess really fast. So while he's shunting that, we'll get this one into the right track. So we know it needs to go into one of these. We're not going to have anything to put back in the interchange today, so it won't matter. He doesn't have anything on him. So we'll just pop him in the head of the siding. Just switch back to PAX 1. And we will then send PAX 1 up to get its train. So we used about 600 gallons of water moving those logs. If you go down this far, you can't actually go very far down here. I can't remember if there's one more station before you get to the bit that you can't go past. Might be Wilmot. But I don't think you can quite get there. I think you almost can, but not quite. So there's a passing loop. And at some point, the track will just run out, I think. Oh, no, you can't get down here. So we could, are we allowed to take a contract at Wilmot? That's an interesting question. Are we allowed to? No, we're not. So we don't have anything opened up down here yet. So we're not allowed to come down here, which is unfortunate. But that's okay. We went to the logging thing. I'm sure I selected something different then. All right, let's leave this caboose here. Of course, if you have more than one, they are caboose. We will now make money because we'll make $3,000 selling that thing. Now, PAX 1, if we say here, so he's done that delivery, and I'm going to show you how to do multiple unit now. So let's bring PAX 1 up to here. While that's happening, let's unhook these. Actually, I was going to do that at Whittier, wasn't I? We'll do that. So general 1, just pop you on the front and I'll run you around. That'll eat some time while the other one gets here. And we should start loading passengers up for Whittier. And they'll start loading because, you know, every dollar counts. The more you make, the more you make. So up to 56.10 now. We can probably run for 4 or 5 days without doing any repairs. If we're gentle to the locomotives. And you could probably run longer because you could let your condition drop down lower. But if you start working them hard and their condition gets low, they go to the toilet very quick. Let's just see how little PAX 1's going. He hasn't even got to Whittier yet. Yeah. It'll take us a little while to run around this car anyway. I'm only doing this to show you how to use multiple unit because our day 2 just finished. We don't have to do anything else. We are going to do a run back to Whittier because it's just good to do a run in each direction, at least one a day. You can do 50 if you want. The passengers will keep turning up for you. So if you want to make some more money, you can just keep doing passenger runs back and forth all day to your heart's content. If you want to make it even more money, buy a second car, run 2 of the buggers. Not sure how much the second car is. Let's go have a look. So another one of these for $450. So you could buy one of those now, but let's not. Let's not. Because I encourage you, keep it simple. I didn't at the start, and I quickly regretted it. I am not going to bother putting the brake on. Now, just out of interest, if you've got one that's parked and it's got the brakes on and you want to shunt it without connecting, you just do that. So bleed. Right-click the car and then bleed. And that will bleed off the air in the brake cylinders. I'm not going to explain to you how air brakes work. It's a little bit beyond this tutorial. All right, let's bring that up there and we'll run around it. By that time, we will probably have a visitor, I think. Yep, it's through Whittier, on its way here. We'll take those back and we can sleep the day again. All right, so we're going to stop there, and in true railway tradition, we're going to block the road and be annoying. Because we can. So let's just put, actually we'll just click the handbrake, we don't need the little thing. Click that, and we will tell General 1 to get on this end. You don't have any turntables at this point in the game, so you can't spin your locos anywhere, you just run them backwards. That will come though. Now we've just set up a conflicting move, so we're just got to watch our timings a little bit. You may remember I said it wouldn't cope. So we've got Pax 1's trundling down here, and this one's doing a runaround move. This one I think will easily finish before Pax 1 even gets anywhere near a sniff of this place, so it'll be fine. And we got far enough past the points there, so that won't be an issue. Got our cars delivered over there quite happily. Pax 1's coming into the slow corners before Ella, so we've got a little while yet. It's going to be closer than it looks, but it'll make it. They don't hit each other generally. The only time they'll hit each other, if one's coming that way and one's coming that way, they'll hit. But if one's heading this way and they get to about here, they'll both stop. They might stop in an annoying place and you'll have to back one of them up. This is going to be a little bit close. Not a lot, a little bit. Timing will be great. So I hope this tutorial's been useful for you. I am going to sleep one more just so I can show you the returns back to the interchange. We don't actually need to do that because it's just a rinse and repeat of what we've already done, but I'll just show you if any of the industries are ready to send stuff back. I'll just talk you through what to do. And maybe I'll keep this game running and I'll build up a smaller railway. So I can flip back and forth, because you can have as many as you want in Railroader. You can run multiple different games. Now I hear some squealing, so that's the other one coming. So because we're going to multiple unit, let's do this properly and we'll hook up our air. We can take this handbrake off now. And the other one that's coming in here, so let's give Pax 1 a new waypoint, which couples it to this one. Now, on General 1, let's go into Inspect. We want to do, first thing I want to do is select it. So select, and we go into manual mode and go cut out multiple unit. And we'll just watch that it doesn't roll away because nothing's got brakes on at the moment. Here comes Pax 1. Beautiful timing. Good. Now we don't have to do anything in a setup of Pax 1. Pax 1 is now in charge. So the other one will just do what it's told. So if I, for example, tell Pax 1 to move down here into the station, which might be a good idea because there's probably more people waiting by now. So yeah, they're both working, both chuffing. Pax 1's just telling General 1 what to do. Now, if you forget to go into manual mode, they'll have a fight because General 1 will want to stay there. You can just drag them around as dead wood, but not ideal. So is it worth stopping? Let's have a look. 3 passengers waiting, so yes, it is. And you can see they've got the longest wait now. Look, there's 14 of them now. Lots more. And we're probably not getting... Oh, no, we are going to get them all in here. That's fine. It'll be waiting for people to get off, but no one's getting off, so they should start getting on shortly. There they go. So I've shown you coaling, I've shown you watering, I've shown you how to sleep, I've shown you how to multiple units. This is handy if you get a big train before you can afford more locomotives. You just run them together. And you can see why one's more powerful than the other, can't you? This one's just a bigger engine than this one. They do have, the boilers are very similar capacity though. So even though this is a short one, it's kind of a wide boiler, and this one's long, but it's quite a thin boiler. So the actual water capacity in a boiler is probably not that different. All right, we should be almost ready to go at some point. It won't actually leave before it should anyway, so let's just pop it to here. So this is Whittier Station. Quick check, no one waiting. Passengers are getting the express ride now. You can see how they kind of work in sync. General 1's basically just copying PAX 1 with a slight delay. So you'll see PAX 1 will power, and then General 1 will power, and then PAX 1 will come off the power, and then General 1 will come off the power a short time later. Now, if those log cars have emptied, which they won't have because it's still too early in the morning, because we're finishing day 2, 48 minutes after it started, then we could take them back around to the siding, but I really doubt they're empty yet, so we won't move them. We'll just put the 2 girls to bed and then switch the day. Remember to never do a wait or a sleep when you've got passenger trains that have not delivered all their passengers yet, because you might go over that 4 hours and you lose the cash. You still have to deliver them, but you lose the cash. We're about to come up to the track split coming into Whittier. So I think we're 2 hours in. That's it for the first 2 days on the railway. The rest is, as I said, rinse and repeat until you want to buy more locations. But just hold your horses, stay small for a little while, get used to it. Because once you get big, if you're not used to it, it'll hurt. So let's just check the very unlikely event that anything wants to shunt back. I'd be really surprised if anything had unloaded or loaded this quickly. No. So we will dump the passenger car here again. That'll be in the depot enough. Should be anyway. They should start getting off. Should be fine, I think. Just check. Since I see that go down to 39, we'll uncouple. There we go. Have to wait for the conductors to put out the steps and that sort of jazz. You've got the different kind of water tower here. It works pretty much the same way though. You position underneath it and drop the spout and Bob's your uncle. Nellie's your aunt. So we've unloaded 2 log cars here. So if we go into locations, we should see that this place is in production now. And it is, so it's not complaining anymore. So normally at the end of the day, I would bring the locomotives back here, coal, water, drop them in the service thing. No point dropping them in the service thing because we can't repair them. So I think what we'll do is sleep and go into day 3. And we should see our happy little caboose vanish. There we go, it's gone. And we did, in fact, make some cash. We've got 10 grand now. So we've got another one for C2. We've got some more for SOS1. They're all for here, actually. And then one more for Stenzel. And if we go looking at these, we've got 3 that want to go back to the interchange now. And these guys are all empty, so they're ready to get loaded up as well. And we might have some stuff up here as well. Ready to come to the interchange? No, neither of those are. What about Holyfield? No. All right, so at this point, I would do 2 things. I would bring my locomotives down to here. Actually, let's split them. So I'm not going to play through this whole day because, it's like I said, it's just rinse and repeat. So let's split them here. And we will send PAX 1 down to, remember the other one is disconnected already. Let's send PAX 1 down to here to the logs and get them sorted. So we've got more logs coming because production has probably stopped again. So if we look at that, there's a fair chance. No, it hasn't actually stopped yet. It's got 2.9 logs left. So we need to get a wriggle on with that. I would suggest you buy more cars and have 12 feet here all the time. So you've got some extra time. And when you've got enough money, double the fleet. So you've got one sitting down there and one up here. It just makes life simple. Now that PAX 1 has gotten underway, we can. Now these are all for here except that last one. So we'll move the whole set around. And we do have to do some shunting as well. So General 1, we need to set you up first up. So let's put you back into a waypoint mode and let's inspect you, cut you in. So cutting out is turning off its brakes basically, and that automatically took it out of MU. And we're going to put it on here. Now I waited just long enough for Pax 1 to be able to get down here and flow the points and get into the siding before the other one turned up and caused a fight over the points. You can hear the other ones just crossing the road crossing now. Method to the madness. This is almost ready to go to the interchange. You can see it's 35.5 and it'll fill up at 40 tonnes. So like I said, I'm not going to play through another day. The way I'll approach this now is I'll take these log cars down to the logging area and I will get these out and get them off to the interchange because they're ready to go out. You can see that one's not, but these are. And you'll notice that destination changed by itself. You don't have to do anything. And you'll notice these cycle by themselves too, so you don't have to do anything. Here comes the other loco. So as I said, it doesn't handle meats well, but if you just play your cards right, put enough of a delay in there, you'll find that it all just works out fine. Then the other one will come past and take control of that set. Actually, given it'll only take 10 minutes, I will play through this part of it. We just won't do the passenger bit. So we'll get this onto here. Got the pretty sunrise again. Everybody works early on the steam railway, of course. Now these haven't been working that hard, so it's not that important, but let's just check the oil. 94%, keep them oiled. And same with these. 98%, I'm not going to bother. And the whole train will be like that. So Conley Creek L1, as usual, inspect, operations, go there and set your waypoint. So we want a Pax 1 waypoint for here because that's that locomotive. So tick, waypoint, go, and then we'll go back to the other one. We'll just let that guy take care of itself. Now we've got 10 grand now, so we can probably afford to put this in because that'll cost us 3 grand for locomotive parts. But I might hold off for a few days because I reckon we can run 4 or 5 days without any repair parts and our condition won't get below about 96%, so it'll be fine. Why it went that way, I'll never know. Why didn't it just go down here? But anyway, that's fine. Like I said, it does dumb things sometimes. Now, if you're excited, you'd pull this car out because it's nearly full and put the other one in behind it, like you would at the supermarket if you were putting milk in the fridge. But yeah, no, I rarely bother doing that. Look at him all the way down there. It's going to have to go all the way down there again in a minute, but that's fine. There you go, there's our logs getting propelled out. Now you could run around them, there is a runaround track down there somewhere and you could do the shunting and you could do it all exactly the right way, but you know, why make it hard for yourself? Keep it simple. And I think you can see what's going to happen next, so I reckon we will just call this quits here because I think 2 hours and 10 minutes is probably more than enough time for an introductory video for how to play, and I think this gives you enough. I will do another one to just progress things along a little and show you how that works, I guess. But this is it for now, so enjoy yourselves. I hope you've enjoyed this and gotten something out of it, and if you're thinking about getting into this game, go right ahead. I don't have affiliate codes or anything silly like that, so the only thing that helps me out is subscribe and thumbs up, so please do, because nothing else matters, really. All right, release the handbrake, and we will send this one over here. And we'll just couple it up to this car. And this is General 1. But we're going to leave you here, and that's it. So we will watch this one depart, and that can be the outtake for today. Thanks for watching, and enjoy yourselves. See you later. Bye.
We played a game.